Everybody has a story. Everybody's gone through crap. And today we're here with Janyl talking about how we've come through on the other side. Let's talk about it.
Should I tell you? Because I know that that's, like, if I originally tell somebody, it's like, how the
Stuff sucks sometimes, but as you're going through it, you're like, this is so bad. And now look at us.
I was fired from a church, you know?
Yeah.
And so we resigned. We signed the papers.
other people that, you know, I've seen like work alongside him or
Right.
like work for him or whatever. It was kind of one of those things where it was like, oh, well, she just sucks at her job. I just think she's overwhelmed and da-da-da. So we just parted ways, or I just stopped talking to her.
Most people probably didn't even see that you were depressed.
Yeah.
And I guess why do people hide it instead of saying, hey, listen,
You know,
I'm going through something.
People can have a lot of bad days in a row or just go through like a bad season.
I haven't really told a lot of people, and but I've, like, for years, I mean, this happened almost 7 years ago. Should we just,
Let's talk about it.
like, I wouldn't be here and I
That's
wouldn't be
crazy,
doing all this
bro.
shit.
That's
Well,
so crazy.
I was like, that's why I was like, should I tell you? Because I know that that's, like, if I originally tell somebody,
I
it's like,
wouldn't know.
how do I respond or whatever? And normally it's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And I'm like, don't say sorry.
Yeah.
Please don't say
Well, that's the
don't say
thing is
sorry.
like finding people that are open to talk about that stuff. Sometimes people don't want to talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
I also feel like, how would you respond to that? Because people, I don't know, like if somebody found
Yeah.
out, how, you know,
Yeah.
especially if they feel awkward, they're, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Or,
exactly.
Great,
So
I don't
it's-
know.
Or like when people say something like,
you're here.
oh, say something about your mom. I'm like, oh yeah, my mom died. So
Yeah, he's,
Yeah.
I make it real. I'm like, oh yeah, my mom died. So
It's like, oh. And it,
like, oh, I'm sorry. No, bro, it's
so
fine.
glad I'm not on the
it's
other side of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it, like, people will, I mean, again, I haven't really told a lot of people, and but I've, like, for years, I mean, this happened almost 7 years ago. Should we just?
No, 7
wait?
years ago.
Yeah. So this happened almost 7 years ago, and it'll be 7 years in March. And like every year it comes around, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this post and da-da-da-da, like on my Instagram that this happened. And I just could never do it. Only like people that I like are I'm obviously close to, that I've been like comfortable to talk.
know.
Yeah, that know.
Wow, bro, this is gonna be so
Yeah.
dope. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Let me see your mic. You have it over on the side, right?
Yeah.
Let's make sure it's not turned off because, bro, it's good. You're good. You're good.
Okay.
So make sure. Bro, okay, so before we get into all that stuff, how we met. Let people know how we met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we met through a client
Yeah.
of the both of ours.
Right.
So I was doing social media stuff, and of course you're doing your video
Yeah.
stuff. And we just kind of merged together, because then it turned into you doing video for his socials.
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, hey, you'd send me, we'd put things together. You'd send me videos to
Yeah.
like help cut, or, you know,
Yeah.
we'd like kind of help write the script. And since then it's just been like great. And I like fell in love with you guys, the both of you and your
Yeah.
daughters and stuff. And so that was such a long time ago.
I know.
I know.
I feel like that's one of those situations for us anyway that like it ended sucky, but like I'm glad. Like it was a weird situation.
Yeah.
But if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have met you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And like that's why I think it's a good conversation to have about how stuff sucks sometimes, but as you're going through it, you're like, this is so bad, and now look at us. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And just between us, not between us, well, everyone that's listening, and we'll just bleep out names if we do use them.
Yeah.
When we were working with you, we do reviews with our clients every week. We always do a review. And he always made it seem like you were dropping the ball on something. And so I had feelings towards you like, bro, this chick is annoying. She's always effing up stuff. And it's making us look bad. You know what I'm saying? And so it just made me but like as I got to know him more and like stuff started coming out, I was like, oh, I was seeing what
did
was
you wonder
happening.
like what else was
Yeah.
happening that you
Yeah.
believed about
That's
a
so
person?
funny, because it was like the flip side. It was like it was like y'all were dropping the ball
Yeah,
on something or something like that. And that's
So fun.
hilarious.
We were all dropping the
But
ball.
I mean, to your point, with other people that, you know, I've seen like work alongside him or
Right.
like work for him or whatever, it was kind of one of those things where it was like, oh, well, she just sucks at her job. I just think she's overwhelmed and da-da-da. So we just parted ways, or I just stopped talking to her.
That's so crazy, bro. And like my thing, the reason that I'm okay with everything that happened, and I don't care if he did say bad stuff about us, is because I have records and receipts
Yeah.
to where I know I've seen what he says about people, and then I see those people not doing or acting the way that he says. I'm
Yeah.
like, And all it took was for me to find out he did that with one person.
Yeah.
Then I started questioning everything else. I'm like, okay, cool. I can't trust. And that's honestly, that's how we ended, is because I finally was like, hey, bro, I can't work like this because I don't know how to act.
Right.
And who you're talking to about. And we aren't that way. We're not going to put on a face to like save you. So, and it was, I mean, I think he was cool how everything worked out. But bro, like that was one of those things I was like, it was cool, and we saw the red flags because we like have our whole like brand framework of like words like if people meet certain like criteria, so I'll say it, then we work with them.
Yeah.
He was missing some of them, but I was like, the money though, you know what I'm saying? But like looking back, it sucked, but I'm glad because we've met a lot, of people. Some of our best clients have become from
Yeah.
Like,
That's so great.
Man, yeah, it's so dope.
Yeah. And to even just follow that part up, like that kind of stepped me into the entrepreneurial space. You know, he was like my first client. And I like learned a bunch of things along the way about how I would want to run my business, how I would want to work with clients in general. I'm not in the social media space anymore. But I'm still like an entrepreneur, still trying to start my own thing or moving forward with one of my other things. And so I wouldn't have even explored that if I didn't have what I experienced with y'all and with him. And so it's like, I think that's great.
I love it.
That's
Like, that's what I was like, that's worth it, you know?
Yeah.
But it also taught us how we don't want to make people feel too, you know? So it's like, but anyways, okay, enough about that. So now let me look. So we have a whole outline. I know you came here like, so I haven't rehearsed anything. Everyone that comes in here
That's
says
the perfect thing though, because we're always like, our thing is authenticity. And so I'm like, no, don't rehearse. It's okay.
We're talking about like people that are in tough situations, and like during that situation, it just seems like the worst thing possible. And how are we going to get out of it? I don't know if you've ever told people our church story.
Not to the masses, but
Do you
maybe
want
to
to?
some
You do.
individuals.
Like, but make it short. Don't do the long.
I will. Don't do a Heather story. Like, wait. I need to back up because you need to know this part to know that. No. I'll do my best. So when we met, we got married in Indiana, which is where we're from. And we both worked at the church. And I was 19, he was 22. We did the marriage.
22? Okay.
We did the marriage counseling and everything that we were supposed to do, you know? And we talked about finances, all the things. So when it came down to our wedding day, we did not have a marriage license.
Yeah.
But no one told us to get a marriage license. I thought it was like, I was 19. I just thought you showed up to a wedding and the pastor, like, here's a piece of paper, let's all sign, you know?
Yeah.
And we found out that was not the case. And so the wedding was running late, and the pastor and other people came into the room and they're like, he's like, listen, I can't perform. Or actually, he was actually going to give me away. He's like, because you guys don't have the marriage license, like you can go and do the wedding. I just can't be here. Which looking back is kind of
weird.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
But it's fine. Like growth, like now I've been like, what?
Low key, I think he was upset because we had the guy that, he's my best friend's
was your youth
dad.
pastor?
No,
or music
he was
pastor?
a pastor.
Okay.
He married us. We flew him up to marry us. And I think he was
Florida.
he was kind of just like, why not me marry you? So I think that was kind of a little.
I'm like, you're giving me away. You know how
Just
many other
kidding. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we did the wedding, went off to the honeymoon, came back, things were totally different.
Yeah.
And we were pulled into a room and he was like, either we fire you, and the secretary was there too. He's like, either we fire you or you resign. And I was like, again, 19 years old, very naive. I'm like, well, I don't want it on my resume. Yeah. That I was fired from a church, you know?
Yeah.
And so we resigned. We signed the papers. And then
They did it very sneakily because if we had been fired, they would have to give us severance. You know what I'm saying? That's how it worked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they were very slick with how they did it.
Yeah.
And we were young and they knew that, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
And
there was no counseling through it either. It was just like, you're wrong, sign this.
Yeah.
All because we didn't have a piece of paper.
And it's funny because I feel like they didn't even like counsel you through
Exactly.
that, right?
No.
Never said
Yeah.
anything about, hey,
No.
but maybe we were dumb and we should have known to get married. We had never been married before.
Yeah.
So anyways,
That's cool. I graduated the year
It's just-
before.
it was
Yeah,
just-
like I just graduated high school, but okay.
It was just interesting the fact that like they were making this into be, I feel like something that it wasn't. Like,
Yeah.
But I think it was because I honestly have no idea. Like I try to go over like
I know.
why.
I've gone over it too because I'm like, well, maybe it was like people in the church. Because remember on the day, like it was fine. He was like, I just can't be here. Like you look great. Like go do your thing, and then we come back, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna fire you.
Yeah, and it was real messy. How they did it.
Yeah.
And it like he said some stuff that like if he,
He
would have
was
said
like
that stuff,
angry when we got back too.
well, if he would have said some of the stuff now as I've like gotten to where I am in life, I
Right.
probably would have jumped across the table and done things I probably
Yeah.
shouldn't have. But I didn't understand what was happening. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Which pisses me off now. But it is what it is. One thing he said, he goes, "Your guys' marriage will be cursed." That's what he said. This is a pastor saying this to us. Just get married.
God.
Young.
It's like you're
You know,
not
some-
married in the eyes of God.
Yeah. And so this sucks. We're
It's funny
married.
because I forgot when Abraham married Sarah that he had a piece of paper.
So we're married.
Do they even have a ceremony? Do they?
Respectfully.
Yeah.
We're married, and now all of a sudden we have to start by leaving. So we leave, we come move down here, and moving down here was the best thing that ever happened. You know what I'm saying? But like
Right.
that's one of those situations where at the time while we're going through it, we're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
This is so terrible.
We lived with his mom
Yeah,
for like 10
like-
months.
Bro, it sucked. We slept
Which
on
at
a,
the time we were like, this is the worst. We
Yeah.
were just not doing any like.
it was
Yeah.
terrible.
I think
But
we
now,
left
like,
it.
look at us. We would still be probably working at that church in little town, just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, at the time was the worst thing, but it led to where we're at now.
Right.
You know?
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
Because what you guys have now is like
Right.
so great. Like, look at this face.
I know. I love that.
Crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. And like, I don't know. I think people listening, I feel like everyone goes through stuff that
Yeah.
no one knows about sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And you think, oh, I'm not going to be able to get through this. And we were talking a little bit before.
Yeah.
I want you to, because I know you have a like story
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's like, and you know, you always think you're going through the worst thing, but like just getting a peek of what you were about to talk about. I'm like,
Right.
all of a sudden, that's not that big of a
Yeah, yeah.
thing. You know
And
what
just
I'm saying?
like for the viewers too, whenever she came in, she started talking. We're like, what?
What?
Stop! Don't say anything else. We didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah,
Oh, that's funny.
tell us.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. So before I even like get into kind of like the crooks and the
Yeah.
actual story, you know, the concept, whenever you guys presented it to me of like losses and like how that kind of like turns into your big wins, I'm not even kidding you. I probably have this conversation like once a week. And
Wow.
it's just with all completely different people. And it's like it's this crazy like phenomenon or whatever they call it, like this concept where it's like we have to like go through the worst things to
Yeah.
find whatever it is on the other side that's so much better. And like to me, it's still like wild to wrap my head around. Like
Yeah.
why? Why
Right.
do we have to do that? You know? But it's great though. Like it's I think it's awesome that that is what it is, because that just obviously means that you're growing, right?
Right.
So yeah, when we're talking about losses, I actually almost lost my life to my own hands. So I had a suicide attempt back in early 2018.
Wow.
So that's about 7 years ago, yeah. So about early 2018. And I obviously won't get into like super like nitty gritty details, but all the time that's like leading up to that, I just was not like right in my mind, I guess. But you would never know. And I would
Yeah.
never know, you know? The concept of like, you know, you never know what anybody's like going through or whatever. Like, I don't even think I knew what I was going through. I didn't exactly know what it was like to be like mentally healthy. I still don't think that people know.
Yeah.
You know, we're just now discovering the realm of like what it is to protect your mind, what it is
Right.
to like focus on your mental health. You know, we're just now discovering that probably in like the past 5 years. And so all the time leading up to it, I mean, there was just a lot going on. I grew up like in a normal, great home. I grew up in a very religious,
Yeah.
strict home.
Really?
Very, very strict home, but like my parents were together. They loved us, you know. But I like didn't necessarily like know, I didn't learn any like normal coping skills. It was like just pray and like you're gonna be so
I hate that stuff so much.
pray, you know, like just pray it away.
Right.
And so like later in my adult life, like stuff just like things just started to happen. You know, you go through not necessarily adult life, but young adult into like adult life. It's like you go through your first breakup, you find your first love, you meet your first group of friends that, you know, like it's all of these things. And then other just like traumatic things happened, whether it was caused by me or caused by something I couldn't control. And I had no idea how to handle that kind of stuff. So it kind of turned into like substance abuse. It turned into like having a severe eating disorder to the point where like one of my friends mentioned that they like at one point wanted to do an intervention. And one of like our school counselors was like, can you please go into like an IOP program? Like just things like that I just never even caught. I'm just like, you guys are like so annoying. You know? Like, can you just like let me do my thing? Like
typical like high school girl
answer. It's like, like you guys, you think I need counseling? You're so freaking crazy. And I'm like throwing up all my food and exercising all the time, you know?
Wow.
And so all of that said, you know, it led me into just kind of like this realm of depression that I didn't even know that I was in. And like, again, probably my closest friends would have seen it coming, but a lot of people that like just knew me outside are probably like, like she tried to do that.
I really quick. So depression, I've never understood depression. And I know Heather's really nervous right now about me talking about depression because I don't get it.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, bro, if you're depressed, why not make sure that you're around people that are lifting you up or like really figure out how to not be depressed?
Yeah.
And I know that's because I've not experienced it and I hope I don't, but like I know it's a thing because think of people like Robin Williams, like that dude was always, you know what I'm saying? And for him to commit suicide and like to find out like wasn't it because of depression? Was that what it was with him?
I think so.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Like to me, I'm like, man, that dude was always making people laugh and then that got, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't get it. But at the same time, like you're saying, like most people probably didn't even see that you were depressed.
Yeah.
And I guess why do people hide it instead of saying, hey, listen, I'm going through something?
That's such a good question because like even now I'll say like, I don't have depression, you know, like, because I don't even think that I can, like, I'm trying to think. That's such a good question because I'm trying to think if I even knew that I was like depressed. Like I knew that there were times where I would like feel lonely or whatever. But again, the way that I cope with it was not healthy. I'd cover it up. I'd go like, I literally would like go drink on my lunch breaks. Like I would exercise into oblivion. Like, you know what I mean? Like I would try whatever. If anyone was like, here's a line of cocaine, you know, here's this. I'm like, sure. Yeah. Give it to me. Come on. Like, let me just, I'm out all the time. I'm like, just like, I'd live for the weekends. Like it was just, and then you just kind of like start that cycle of like just covering everything up where you don't even know that there's something to cover up.
Gotcha.
Like you don't even know, like at the end of the day, you're really unhealthy and you're lonely and you're this and you're that. And your friends are like kind of tired of like dealing with you because you're so impulsive. But you know, like it's just things like that. And so I think too, there's like this concept of like, I don't know, that's not me. Like I'm not depressed. You know, like
I have a handle on it.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Like I can handle my life. So you handle your life, I can handle my life. Yeah, that's a good point. It's like I'm fine. And I was always just taught to be also coming from like a very strict household. And my parents are both immigrants. They both come from the Philippines and like my mom, like the third world country, they like grew up in a tin shack in the rainforest of the Philippines, right?
Wow.
My mom's always like, you don't know how good you have it, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like the whole thing of like, you know what? Like, yeah, I'm not depressed. Like,
I
that's
gotta be
not
thankful
me.
that I
I'm
have the life.
fine.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like, you know, and so my mom's always like, it's fine. You're fine, you know? And so like, so I think there's so many factors and I think it differs for everybody, but I do think that a lot of times people don't exactly realize it. And it came at me super hard once like my attempt happened. And, you know, there were bits and pieces. So like, candidly, this like wasn't exactly even like my first attempt.
Really?
So it was actually my third. My other two, I would like step into the space of being like, this is what's going to happen. And then I could just never follow through. And then this one, I like completely followed through with, and you know, it was the end of March 2018. And so that was like a funky one because it was like where Easter was on April Fool's Day. So Easter was on the 1st. And so I woke up on April Fool's Day in the hospital. And I didn't even recognize like myself. I didn't recognize my friends or like my family.
Wow.
When you say you didn't recognize yourself, what do you mean?
So it was, well, the way that I did, I like just took all the pills that I had and like went into a closet with a bottle of whiskey and just like tried to go to sleep. And so like what they had to do, I don't know exactly what they, I think like I don't know if they pumped my stomach or if they just like tried to flush everything out or something like that. But like drugs had gotten into my system to where like I was just completely like, what the F ever. Like, and so I remember my friend after the fact, I remember one of my friends telling me that like, they thought I was just gone. Like mentally, they thought I was like just gone.
So your friends are the ones who found you?
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Oh my gosh, listen to this. So the reason... I'm like laughing, like, oh my God, you guys.
No, that's why I laughed because like you just did a total like,
well, this is again, okay, so a topic that I obviously don't tell a lot of people. And I was telling you guys, like, I think maybe before like cameras were on or anything, you know, like this isn't like a light topic, just be like, oh yeah, by the way, you know, it's so crazy. Only like close people know about it. But I've always like been like, okay, I'm going to post about this. It's this like around like the anniversary, I guess you could say, I'm going to post about it and like be very vulnerable. And like, if it helps somebody, like it can help somebody or, you know, or at least just like bring to attention, like that this stuff happens and like people need to be aware. And I can never do it. Like the 3-year anniversary, the 5 years, even last year was 6 years. And I was like, oh, I'm going to make a post. And I was like, I can't. And so when you came to me about this, I was like, okay, maybe this is, I had to talk to a couple of friends too, because I was like, I think this might be what I'm going to talk about. And then I was like, but I feel like that's a lot. That's like a super deep thing to talk about. And this is normally when I'm having this conversation, this is how I talk about it. Because it's like, it is deep, but I'm here, right? So I didn't follow through or like it didn't happen. And I'm glad I'm here and everything's great, which is obviously what we'll talk about like later. But the crazy story is that, so when all of this happened, I was probably like in the worst point of like this really big, just like mental spiral. Like,
that's what I was wondering, like, what was the trigger there?
Yeah. So, I was in a very young relationship, like, which was, I mean, the relationship was great. Like we loved each other and everything like that, but it was just young and I didn't know how to be in a relationship. I don't necessarily think that he did either. Like we're grad school, like just trying to make it, still trying to build our own futures. And I was pretty codependent and, but also like struggling with like getting drunk during my lunch break when I'm a teacher, you know, like still struggling with like eating disorder stuff and still like just a whole bunch of other stuff. And I was, for lack of better terms, just like under the influence. And we had just gotten in a fight and we were fighting via text message. And it turned into like, you know, one of those stupid like text message arguments where it's like, I'm done. And he's like, well, I'm done, you know? And,
exclamation mark.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm not, don't talk to me. You know, it just
They're always so productive.
I know, like, and so again, like just under the influence, I text my roommate and I was just like, we just broke up, you know? And I think like these fights happened all the time. Like, so for her, and she was at work, she's a busy nurse that works like a day shift job, like busy. And she calls me and which I still, I'm like, she called me. And that's just like, when your friends like when your friend goes through this like cyclical, like
Right.
breakup, argue, problems. Oh, they
here
broke
she
up
goes
again. Yo,
again,
here we
yeah.
go. You know, she's like, like, I don't think that that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it has. And I'm just like thinking that this is a crazy thing that happened. But she called me and I just sounded super distressed.
Mm-hmm.
And she came home. And I think that she said I was just like so distressed. And I think she said she heard pills in the background or something. I don't even like remember any of that, but she came home. And so like, I like obviously take these pills and whatever. And like, again, I don't like remember much of it. But like, she said like, I left a note, like I was like ready to go.
Wow.
And so I think she had like called the cops or something. She has a twin sister and like friend, like we're all like soccer teammates or were soccer teammates. And like, I think like, she had like sent the girls to come over and like the next thing I know, I'm like in the closet and like a cop is trying to like lure me out of the closet. And then that's kind of like all I really like remember until the point that I like woke up. And I do remember like my mom telling me, she's like, I almost died. At one point I like seized when they were there and, you know, like just watch me turn blue and like, and it's just like crazy, you know? And I said I wasn't going to get into the nitty gritty and here we are.
No, but yeah, like I feel like it's interesting someone hearing this if they're going through stuff like that to know that like, because I feel like so many people hide when they go through this. They don't want to talk about it. Like it's like everyone says don't talk about politics and religion but now no one knows how to talk about politics and religion. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think talking about that kind of stuff can relate to people that are going through some of the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
that is such a good point. Because it's like the realest thing. Like if you, now I'm like, I like am a donor for like the suicide prevention center. Like I am like suicide prevention, whatever. Because it's, no one knows, you know? And so it's even crazy. Like one of our teammates during our junior year of college, she committed suicide.
yeah.
You know? And it happens so much more than people think. And it doesn't, like, signs aren't very clear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's whenever this happened and like our teammates had to get counseling, or whenever one of our teammates committed suicide, you know, some of us had to get counseling. And one of the counselors was basically talking to us about like, it really truly is an illness and you can't see it. It's like you have a cold. Like you can see someone that has a cold, you can see them get better. You can't see the physical manifestations of somebody that has a mental illness.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, that doesn't necessarily mean that it can't be ignored or that it shouldn't be ignored or that it should be ignored. Because it's happening like a lot more than a lot of people think. I'm glad that there's a lot more awareness around it, but I mean, it truly is just something that I think that people just miss. Yeah. Unless it happens to, unless it's too late, you know, it happens to somebody that's close to them. It happens to like a close friend or, you know, God forbid, like even somebody starts to have like the concepts or thoughts of like suicidal ideations. And like by that time, it's like, that's a big deal, you know, because once you start thinking about it, I believe, since obviously I've like gone through it, like, I don't think it ever goes away. Like once you getting into the brain, once you create that neural pathway of like that thought, like that shit never goes away.
Do you still think about, do you ever like come across, man, like, I don't know how to ask that without like.
It's funny. Someone asked that too. And I like, it's tough saying yes. Like it's tough saying yes, but I have so many more tools to like combat that. Right. It's tough saying yes though. Cause I want to be like, but I'm fine. Like,
right. No,
I'm okay. You know?
You probably can recognize like, okay, I see this happening.
Right.
I need it. Yeah. Okay.
Right. I think yeah. But like before, you know, I was just so like, I don't want to use the word manic because that kind of like goes hand in hand with bipolar, and I'm not bipolar, but I was so just impulsive. I was just trying to find the next thing, the next hit to just like make me feel better in a world where I didn't even know that I was feeling bad. And so like that impulsivity that I couldn't even control is what led me to doing that. You know, if I wasn't completely inebriated, if I wasn't so impulsive, if I had like a right mind on my shoulders, like maybe I would have been able to like talk my way out of it and be like, Janyl, like this isn't the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But
Did you think that like, oh, if I do this, the people around will be better? Or was it more about, I'm just don't want to deal with this anymore? And
I think it was very much so like, I just don't want to be here. Yeah. I laugh because I'm very much known to be the person where it's like, if I don't want to be somewhere, I'm not going to be there. I will literally get up and leave. So it's like me saying that, I'm like,
it's so on brand.
yeah, it's like, oh, that kind of sounds right in like the worst way.
Yeah. I just always think about that. Like, I'm glad you're here. And like, I know we don't like, we're not like BFFs.
Yeah.
We should hang out more.
Yeah.
But I'm like, knowing you as a person so far, I would hate to not know you.
Yeah.
You know? And obviously I wouldn't have known you if that happened. But like, I think about people close to me. And if someone did that, I would feel so bad because I'd be like, man, I don't know if I did a good job of letting them know how important they were to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because some people, they do that thinking everyone else is going to be better off. You know? Which is like, bro, again, Heather's nervous because I have my opinions on that kind of stuff. And it's like, I just feel like I could never do that myself.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'd be selfish to the people around me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would put, now Heather's in this position of, oh, now I have to raise the girls by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of stuff I think about, but I've not gone through it. So I don't have the right to really like say, so don't come at me.
No.
But you see, like, I feel like it's safe for me to have that conversation with you, but like, that's why I'm like, I'm glad you're here. I didn't even know about this whole suicide stuff.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to talk about it with someone like, sorry.
No, I think that's such a good point because I think that's another part of awareness is when someone just doesn't really understand and still has their opinions on stuff, you know what I mean? But like now hearing just from the other side or like it does happen, you know? Right. And I think the thoughts there, like if we want to like talk about like depression and kind of like mental illness, like it is literally the illness of your brain just not working properly. So it's like you right now are in a position where you're like, yeah, like this shit sucks and blah, 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 but I still have stuff to do. Like I'm responsible for a wife and little humans. Like like I have a house. I have things to do. Like that's like thinking properly, right? And that's how normal people would think. But with someone that has a mental illness, like they're not at all thinking right, you know? Wow. And so it's like, it truly is like, it's shit that's going on in your brain that's not allowing you to think properly. So I think this is like, I can relate, or I can kind of like talk more about it when I think about like my eating disorder. Like it's crazy. Like it's crazy to think that like, oh, I'm going to eat this food and then I'm going to throw it up and then I'm going to go work out later and then go as far as to like, like cut this out if you think this is a little too like whatever.
No, we're not cutting anything out.
It was so severe, like, because I was like consistently harming myself, but I was so obsessed with like hitting like a goal weight. I would cut it into my body.
Wow.
I cut like 125 into my side. Like it was, and so you like think about that. If someone told me that, I'd be like, you're fucking crazy. And they are. I was crazy. Like there's nothing in my brain that's like going on that's normal. So it's like, surprise, like you go do this? Like, oh, okay, because you're fucking crazy. Like, it sounds not fucking crazy, but it's just like, you're just ill.
Right.
You know? And like, illness takes time to heal, right? Like any other illness, like it takes time to heal. And there are things that you need to do to heal. You need to, you know, a physical illness, you need to take your medicine. You need to rest. You need to get your sleep. A mental illness, there's like a lot more that goes into just like healing, and there's time and there's relationships and blah, blah, blah. But to the point of just being like you're just like someone who's mentally ill is like literally not in their right mind. And that's like a funky thing for people to understand, because it's like, well, logically, that person's not thinking logically. You know, they're not thinking in the part of their brain that's thinking logically. They're like thinking up here. They're like very, very impulsive.
Bro, I've never heard it explained like that.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I asked the question, but bro, the way you just now explained that like makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Because again, like I said in the beginning, I was like, if you're depressed, go get some sun, do something fun. You know what I'm saying? This is how I think, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's like an easy, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Just go do it. But it's because like, you're like, well, duh, this is the logical thing for you to do.
Yeah.
Why don't you do it? And that person's like, I don't even know what logic is. You know, like literally, I like did not know what logic was. Like there's so many people, like my friends were like, you need to probably go to counseling. I wanted to have an intervention with you. And I was like, fuck off. You know?
Right.
Crazy.
Man.
I think people who take it so lightly too, well, not take it lightly, but I feel like people can have a lot of bad days in a row or just go through like a bad season. And then they're like, oh, well, I'm depressed.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why it's thrown around. It is real and it is prevalent, but I feel like people throw that term around so much too.
That's what I think.
I think you relate it to that. So maybe it's natural for when you hear that, you just like face value, you just like, it's like, go have a good day then.
Yeah.
Make it better.
Yeah. Or even, I also hear like when people go through those like seasons and then they kind of like see their way out of it, they like compare their version of seeing their way out of it to being like, well, this is what I did. Why don't you do that instead? You know, like why aren't you doing that? I did go get sun and I did great. So like, why didn't you do that? Why don't you just go do it? You know, where it's like, you know, it's funky because it like depression has stuff to do with like chemical changes in your brain, like physiologically, like chemical changes. And again, I'm like not a doctor.
I love it.
Not a doctor.
She's not a
Let me
doctor.
preface that. Let me just put that disclaimer in. I'm not a doctor, and I also refuse to believe I have depression. You know, you know, I like refuse. Well, now I don't. You know, but even then, I was like, I was depressed. Like I refuse to believe it. So that is a tough one. Like
Maybe I've been depressed and don't know it.
Yeah, probably. Were you drinking a lot at the time?
No, that's the thing. We don't drink.
Yeah.
The saddest I think I've been was when mom died. But like that's when I really got into more of working out. So maybe I was hiding being sad with working out. I wasn't hiding it though.
I think it was just severe sadness.
Yeah.
It's grief.
But I still wouldn't, even that mom dying, I still am not saying that I'm depressed.
Yeah.
And you saying people throw the word depressed around, I do that all the time. And I should stop doing it because I say, when we found out that we were having girls and they were twins, not twins, but the fact that they were both girls, I tell people I was depressed. Because I wanted boys so bad.
No, you were like, I want a boy. And God was like, well, how about two girls?
Yes.
How about
And
two?
so, like,
Here you go.
So
Not only am I getting a girl, I get two.
Right. But yeah, so like I'm guilty of just throwing that around.
I think it's our generation too.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of a Friends episode, a specific one where they're watching actually they were at a funeral. But remember the dad was watching a football game on like some little portable TV thing and they lost. And he's like, oh, now I'm depressed.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like a
Yeah.
generational or our generation thing where it was just sort of thrown around like a lot of other words that you can't really say anymore.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you. So then, were you going to say something?
No, good.
Okay. So, bridging the gap, or not bridging the gap, but what was the process for you like? And I know it's different for everybody, but in the healing process, what did that? Like, what were the steps for you?
Oh God. I mean, it took years.
Yeah.
Like years. I'm like 7 years later and I'm still learning more. You know, I'm still learning, still consistently learning. I hit epiphanies. Like I'll get into this later, but I like hit an epiphany like just like this past year about, you know, how things happen and how things were and how I'm healing and how I'm becoming like a better person and whatnot. But I mean, coming out of that, and this is like the reality that like people don't see, like the just kind of afterwards, you know, I had to go to treatment. I was like forced to go to treatment, obviously. Like, but after that I was put in like a 72-hour hold, which was like freaking traumatic.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was.
I've heard other people say that.
It like being put on a 72. It's so crazy. And I lived in Jackson, Mississippi. So this was like a Jackson, Mississippi hospital. And I'm sure everything else like for them is great, but they probably like their psychiatric unit is probably like underfunded because I was hold on a second. I do not belong here.
Yeah.
But it was like, I was put on in this long hallway, with like, and maybe I did belong there, you know, I was like with like true crazy people. Like there were people that like had like hit psychosis and they like were not in their right brain.
Yeah.
There was like this person just like literally hopping like a bunny.
I would say like screaming.
Like there's like someone screaming. There's like someone like hopping like a bunny and like reciting like Bible verses to me and stuff like that. And just like telling me that I was like the devil and just like crazy things like that. And I'm just like, where the frick am I? And they like didn't have doors and they like didn't, because they like couldn't give me a fork. Like I had like a little like spork thing and everybody just like watches you eat. And like they wouldn't even, I like used to sleep with this little like thing that I had since I was a kid. And my roommate tried to like bring it to me just for like comfort.
Smuggle it.
Yeah. And she like, they wouldn't let me have it. Like, you know, it's stuff like that. And so it was pretty
That's
pretty
sweet
shitty.
though.
Yeah. But I couldn't even have it. And so it was pretty rough. And so after that, my parents like took me home and, other like had to just go through other stuff. But another tough thing that like treatment was like rough is, but I had to go through that. And then after that, a little bit after that, I ended up like being back home. I like moved back home. It was like a couple months. I'm trying to think of like my timeline here. My roommate decided to like up and move to Charlotte.
Wow.
And that kind of like goes into a lot of like the pain that I felt after the fact. And it wasn't even like she could up and do whatever she wanted, you know?
Right.
But I knew that like a lot of people, like I hurt a lot of people or like I scared a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people were, I don't want to say the word like dealing with me, but a lot of, I definitely think there was a point, that was the point where people were like, I just can't do this anymore with you. Because I was just going, I would take people on these roller coasters with me, like on these huge emotional roller coasters where it's like, Janyl, I hear you throwing up in your bedroom. I think you need to, you know, Janyl, like you are drinking a little too, you know, like Janyl, like you probably shouldn't be going there. You should, you probably, you know, always have like dealing with like my, I guess like, I don't want to say mood swings, but just dealing
roller
with,
coaster.
Yeah, just dealing with that, like that roller coaster, especially my roommate at the time. And she and I are still like best friends.
I was about to ask if you guys still talk.
Love her to death.
That.
I was maid of honor in her wedding. She'll like 100% be the maid of honor in mine. You know, like love her to death. I couldn't say a single bad thing about her, but when she like up and moved and left, I was like that was hard. And I think she was like wanting to pursue like job opportunities anyway. I can't remember if she was looking before that anyway, but when she left, I took it like really personal.
Yeah.
I was like, it's because of me. And that, and you know, losing relationships and having like friends distance themselves from me a little bit, still take care of me and still love me, but like love me. They're like, love you so much, can't deal with you right now. That was really hard. That was super hard. Moved home for a little bit. And throughout that, like, still had to like go through counseling and stuff like
Right.
that. Moved to Memphis, which is home. Like, joined a recovery group. Later down the line, like, ended up in Nashville. Joined a recovery group. Was still in therapy and still in counseling and stuff. And a lot of that, like, I mean, the process there, like, I still didn't know, like, how to be normal. Like, you know, people think that, like, oh, you go through the, I don't think that people just know how to, like, come out of a suicide attempt and they're like, my life is so good now because I survived. And, you know, you still have these things to learn. You have to, like going back and assessing, like, all of these things that I needed to know and learn. Like, substance abuse issues were probably, like, the very, very first thing that I had to kind of, like, well, I was essentially forced to, I was, like, forced to figure that out. And so, like, that was a pretty big deal that I had to, like, work through and figure out, and, like, what does being, like, clean look like? You know, what does that look like? That was something that was huge. What were, like, the triggers that made me want to do anything, you know? So that was a pretty big deal. And then just, like, getting my mind right, I guess, like, being able to see things a different way, being able to, like, find coping strategies when I was upset, or when something would, like, trigger me, talking through a lot of, like, trauma with therapists and, like, uncovering all of that. That shit sucks. Like, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a fun thing to do when you're coming out of that. Like, it actually, like, really sucks. Talk about losses, like, that shit sucked. I was in, like, an IOP group and stuff. Like, I had to do IOP. And
What's
like,
IOP?
it's an intensive outpatient program.
Okay.
And this was, like, but again, funky because, like, I truly think that it's just Jackson, Mississippi being underfunded. And we had all the gamut of people. So it's everyone in recovery, everyone that's depressed, people with, like, recovering from what the fuck ever. So it wasn't necessarily, like, specialized. So everyone was together, and they ran it with 2 phases. And so it's like you kind of had to go through phase. You had to finish phase 1. Man, I talk about this with my friends, and it makes me, like, kind of emotional because it was rough. You start phase 1 and then you have to, like, almost graduate to phase 2. And after phase 2, once you graduate from phase 2, you're, like, done. And when I tell you, IOP is like a full-time job. Like, you're in there 5 days a week for 8 hours a day. It's just like counseling. You get, like, your little breaks or whatever. But it's just like a counseling session, and, like, you work individually with your therapist, and then you also work in a group setting with people. And they also, like, at that time, they're also trying to, like, rule out any other, like, mental illness diagnosis or whatever. So they're like trying to, like, they're like, rule me out for, like, bipolar disorder and rule me out for all of this. But you have to, like, deep dive into a bunch of trauma and deep dive into a bunch of, like, childhood. And you have to, like, learn kind of, like, how to self-regulate when you're, like, in a situation where you're feeling uncomfortable, like, or when you're in a situation where you're, like, about to be triggered or whatever, when you're about to go be impulsive and go, like, for lack of better words, like, kill yourself, you know? Or if you're about to be impulsive and go use, or if you're about to be impulsive and do this, like, all these different things. But with this, people would come in, like, people that came in either before me or, like, after me even, or, like, during the same time I did, they were graduating into phase 2, and, like, they would not let me go to phase 2. And they're just like, what the fuck? So I talked to my counselor, and I'm like, I have been here forever. Like, why can I not move on? And she was essentially like, because you're just, like, you just know what to do. Like, you're not actually, like, trying to heal. Like, you're not trying to heal. And when I think that you're actually, like, really putting in the work to try to heal, like, then you can move on to phase 2.
Wow.
So, like, I have to, like, put the work in, whatever. And so eventually I, like, graduate up to phase 2, and the first day that I was in phase 2 and they start, like, kind of deep diving, I left early because I, like, could not handle it. I, like, left crying. I, like, couldn't handle it. It was rough.
Wow.
And I mean, just that healing process is rough because, like, that's the kind of stuff where you just really have to, like, dive deep and look at yourself and like look at the things that like you've gone through in life. And if that, that shit just sucks. Like you have to like go back to the times where you're scared or you go back to the times where you're truly hurting, or like you go back to the times when like you could really truly think like, I think I was depressed then. And that's the kind of stuff like I don't do well. I don't think anybody does.
Yeah. There's nothing to hide behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and you can't move forward and be better without doing that and without dealing with it and without like almost even desensitizing yourself to those feelings. Because that's what I was doing. And I realized that whenever something sad would come up for me, I'm like, what's the next thing to cover it up? And so I would just trump any kind of negative feeling that I had. And it led to this huge spiral of just me being like, I don't even want to fucking be here anymore. So yeah, I mean, it took years and years to just like heal. But as you heal and as you start to learn these things, you start to learn like the better sides of you. So like, if we want to start like transitioning into even just talking about like these wins or like how it just made yourself better, like I like look at life in such a different way. People always say like life is too short, dude.
Oh yeah.
People say that all the time. I could have died in 10 minutes. And I have scars all over my hands too from just like a big car wreck where I flipped my car or whatever. This was like way, way before the suicide attempt or whatnot. I could have died in 2 minutes. Like, so there's such a big realistic concept of like life really is too short. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And so I don't allow myself to be in a place anymore where I'm like, if I'm feeling shitty about something, we're going to deal with it right now.
Man, let's go.
Because we don't we don't stay there. We're not going to hide it. We're just going to deal with it right now. Or I'm going to leave. You know, like I'm up and if I'm in a situation, if I'm in a place that doesn't make me feel good, if I'm in a place where I'm like, I don't want to be here, I'm going to not I'm getting up and walking out the door. I don't want to be here. Life's too short. And it just allowed me to like truly see and open up these like, I mean, like open up my eyes to just like what life could really be and like how I could like live a bigger life.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And I was just thinking about the edit. Will you check the camera really quick to make sure everything's focused? So I was thinking about the edit. I'm going to put that part where you're just like, I'm just going to get up and leave so people think we made you mad. And we cut it right before that.
Yes.
I'm just going to get up and leave.
Yeah.
I hate that you went through that stuff.
Yeah.
But like what you're doing now, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like maybe go into like what you're doing now and how that like, it probably helps you.
Yeah. It's so, oh my gosh. It like makes me excited to talk about. So when I moved to Nashville, actually it was like I was in Memphis and transferred out to Nashville through this job, but I stepped into the fitness space. And it's a different
Which you're
fitness
killing,
space.
by the way.
Yeah.
Bro, every time I try not to be a freaking creep because every time I see you lift or like hit a new record, I'm like, I'm so excited. I'm like, should I measure on this one or should I wait till she posts the next
You're like,
one?
oh, here's Eugene again.
Yeah. And the little thing where you're showing people how to kick the plates on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. That's smart.
See?
It's smart.
It's funny because people, like, I've had 2 people, like, ask me about it, and I'm like, I literally thought everybody did this. Like, is it really just me? So I think that's funny. But yeah, thank you. I've worked very hard. But it was this crazy thing. So everything that happened, it led me to I had to be home with my parents were like, you're fucking moving here and we're going to keep an eye on you. So I had to be home with my family. And I obviously had to get a job. And so like I went to this gym and they hired me, and it's like CrossFit, but not affiliated with CrossFit, but they also coach nutrition and like nutrition, like they teach you how to coach nutrition, like teach clients how to coach nutrition and how like your nutrition affects your performance in the gym. And so it was like life-changing. I like don't want to be that person to be like, CrossFit
be that person.
changed my life or fitness changed my life.
No,
but
listen.
it really freaking
It
did.
does. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. But I get so excited
earlier,
about it.
like when you lost your mom, that's what you like after that was part of your healing.
I wish I would have started fitness way before because my head would have been so much clearer. I feel like like it does. Like I don't know what it is
having
about
a place
it.
to direct.
I don't even know if it's
the
that
mental, the feelings.
But I will say that I think CrossFit's dumb. But the stuff that you do, I do see how it's like you do some challenging stuff.
Yeah.
But bro, y'all be
I know the pull-ups. I know.
The pull-ups are wild as hell, bro.
Videos, right?
Like, what?
I know, whatever.
But the other thing is, look, some of the stuff you be lifting, I'm like, bro, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. And I never would have like even discovered it because before I even started Iron Tribe or whatever, the gym that I started working at, I thought CrossFit was dumb too. I was like, this is so stupid and you guys look so ridiculous and this is so stupid. You guys are a cult and whatever. I see why people get obsessed with it because you get obsessed with like how you perform and if you care enough, which most people would jump in it and they care because they're like, I just want to do well in the gym. I want to feel good. I want to move well. Your entire life starts to revolve around that. So it turns into, I need to make sure I'm sleeping enough. I need to make sure I eat. Yes. I need to make sure I have energy. And so that started like truly healing the eating disorder side of me, which had a lot to do with everything before my suicide attempt. So like even after my attempt, I had like worked a little bit in Mississippi and whatever. I was like working a little like admin desk job because at some point I was like still pursuing physical therapy. So at one point I was pursuing physical therapy. So I was working in a physical therapy clinic. I would binge and purge every day, even after that, you know? And so, and after all, like, was still
you would do what
like
every day?
Binge and purge. So I would eat and throw up every day.
Oh, I was like, what the hell? I'm thinking it's some kind of CrossFit move. I'm like, what is it? Oh, damn.
Yeah. So just like going back into just like the eating disorder. So I was still doing that. And that stuff didn't change until I like joined this gym and started coaching there. So I joined it in Memphis, got transferred out when I moved to Nashville and worked for the Nashville brand for like 4 years. And like, again, just changed my life. And like, even the people that I worked with, like even to this day, like I like label people by like who were big parts of my life after my suicide attempt. I call them like my little lifesavers. I'm like, you literally saved my life. And the people that I work with are like still my best friends. They're like my life. I don't even think that they know that they were like there to like save my life.
Are lifesavers still candy?
Yeah.
You should get them lifesavers every anniversary. Every anniversary, you should send them like a little package of lifesavers.
And so, I should. But they'd probably be like, what the fuck are you doing? Because again, they just probably don't even like know how much of an impact they made on me because when I was there, they obviously didn't know what I came from and what had happened and what I was going through and stuff. And so like, they were always there to be like, let's work out today. Come on, you can do it. They were like always there to push me. Like, I'd be like, God, this feels like shit today. They'd be like, did you eat? You know, like, have you been eating? Did you sleep? Like, they were always like checking in on me and making sure I was okay without even like knowing that they were doing that, you know? And so like, even to this day, they probably still have no idea how much of like an impact they had on like me just recovering from all of that. And so they hold like a super, super special place in my heart.
Well, that's what I'm always saying. Be nice to everyone. You don't know what someone's going through. Like, you could be making someone's whole, like, saving someone's life, like you're saying, you know?
Oh.
Sorry.
No, 100%. I think so, too. Where was I going?
We're talking about what you do now.
Oh,
and
yeah.
How, like,
oh, duh. Hello. We were like, we're on like this whole thing.
No, I love learning about this stuff.
So now that was a whole thing. And then, I'll kind of like travel along the concept of like people that just like saved my life and like gave me all these opportunities. Like I come out of our fitness industry or whatever, a contact through the gym led me to a contact who was in the corporate relations space. And that led me to where I am now. And that is working for an anti-trafficking organization that like works alongside women survivors of trafficking and exploitation and addiction. And it's like one of the most, it's so great. It's so great. And then even I have a small business. So I have a business partner. We have an Airbnb company or a short-term rental company. And it's because it doesn't just work with Airbnbs. We have a small portfolio here in Nashville and a small portfolio in like along 30A, so in Florida. And then I'm working on a corporate consulting company.
That's dope.
And so it's like none of this would have ever happened. Like I wouldn't have been in Nashville. I wouldn't have met these people that I have. I wouldn't have even like had the mentality to like open up my mind to like these new things and to try new things. Cause now I'm like, well, why the fuck not? You know,
Right.
like
Life's too short.
Life's too short. Why wouldn't I do this? Like, and that is, and I can do it like with keeping my mental health in check. Like I have the tools to be able to do that. And now I have the tools to be able to do the job that I do even now working, where I work now with women survivors. And so it's amazing to be able to do that and like do these things well. Because I would have never been able to like take chances and do that. Like if this didn't happen, like I truly owe a lot of like where I am like right now today to like whatever the fuck happened in Jackson, Mississippi when I'm waking up and not even like knowing my name.
Yeah.
Like it's again like the wildest phenomenon.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't even know, like if that didn't happen, like I probably would have died another way, whether it's by my own hand or whether it's through like addiction or whether like whatever, like I would have died because I didn't know how to take care of myself.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you think that stuff that you went through helps you with your job now? Like, because you deal with a lot of women who are going through a ton of crap. Do you think it makes you have more empathy for them and like understand where they're coming from?
Oh, 100%. I think it's not even like people that I work with. It's people like literally every single day.
Yeah.
It helps me have empathy because, and I think I was having a conversation with somebody about this the other day, you know, trauma and like people's like lowest of lows, those kinds of things are very subjective. Someone's lowest of low can look like, you know, I just had a really rough day. Someone was really mean to me, blah, blah. Like the concept of like sadness is still something that everybody goes through, you know, and some people's levels are just different.
Right.
It almost, and when I see someone that like can hold themselves together and I'm like, you've been through some shit, you know, you have been through some shit. But it allows me to just, to your point, like be kind because I like, you never know, you know, you never know like if your harsh words can cost somebody's life, like you never know, or if your kind words can save somebody's life. It allows you to just kind of like understand that like everybody has a history, everybody has trauma, and everybody has a loss that they can't control.
Right.
And you can just be the person to like without even ever knowing it, you can be the person that's like holding that weight with them. Like when I think about like what I was talking about with like my friends at my old job at the gym, like they held a lot of shit with me that they didn't even know that they held. All they were was just kind. And like if you think of the concept of just like holding somebody's weight with them when they're going through it, it's amazing. Like it can change somebody's life if like hold that weight with them and let them catch their breath, you know? But yeah, I think it's like all of that stuff. It's for sure helped me. It's for sure helped me because I see I can be kind to myself. I can be kind to women that I work alongside with because this organization also employs women survivors. And so we're working alongside of women survivors that have very traumatic pasts. And that can be really hard to work with sometimes just because escalation happens for a number of different reasons. So someone can be triggered from something that's very, very small that like no one would, like I would never understand. And so now being able to handle that, I think like I can understand that a little bit
Yeah.
more. And there's actually like we're currently going through trainings for everybody in the organization to be able to handle that. And like as we're going through, I'm actually helping with these trainings as we're going through these trainings and helping with this material. I'm like, oh yeah, this is like, oh, I totally get this, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And I think that it's helped me a lot. And, you know, you don't necessarily have to go through like a whole suicide thing. Like you can witness someone with a lot of trauma or something like that, or grow up kind of like surrounded by it and still like know how to handle somebody, not handle, but know how to like empathize.
Right.
But yeah, I think like for sure it helped me a lot, just gain a little bit more insight and understanding on, you know, what they could be going through. And it helps like with patience and like, you know.
That's why, bro, you be nice to people. And like, you know, you give me a hard time sometimes because I'll go to the gym and there's not a time that we go to the gym and I don't talk to people.
Yeah.
And even people I don't know, especially if I see you're in there for the first time, I'm going to come up and show love. Because, you know, this might be their first time in the gym, you know, and they may be going through, because I know when mom died, me going to the gym, I was trying to deal with some stuff.
Yeah.
And if someone would have been a jerk to me during that time, I might never come back.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you see what I'm saying? So it's like you're saying, like, be nice to everyone.
You actually did that today. You did that today. There was a girl in the hip thrust machine.
What did I do? I don't remember.
I don't know. I was doing my set and I saw you go over and like help her.
Yeah, she knows.
She looked new.
Yeah.
Maybe she's not, but
I like what you said about helping someone, like holding their weight with them.
yeah,
Bro, that's dope.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's very dope.
I actually think, so I think I got that from like the founder of this organization that I work for.
Wow.
Because it's like a lot of people, and this is another thing, because sometimes it's like hard for people to like come to you about feelings. Because like a lot of people also just want, they don't know what to do with that, so they like want to fix, right?
Right.
They're like, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you know? And I'm like, you don't do anything. Just sit there. Just listen. Just listen. Just listen. And if I come to you tomorrow, you're gonna listen. And if you know that, and that's probably that's one thing that if there was something that I could just like tell people and just like stuff it and just like punch it in their brain, like just listen, like you don't have to fix. This epiphany I had like mentioned earlier that I like came to this conclusion. I was listening to this song and it's by No Con, and I don't know if you guys know that artist, but he's been,
I won't listen to it.
Oh my gosh. It's like, it like wrecked me. But it's essentially like talking, I'm not even going to go into go into the whole explanation, but it led me to this conclusion that like when my suicide attempt did happen, obviously people were there. They like love me. They care for me. They like love me from afar, all this kind of stuff. But conversations surrounding that time were like, how are you doing? What are you doing moving forward? How are you going to get better? It was all of these like, how are you going to progress to move forward? And it was never like, what's wrong? Like, it was never like
in the moment.
Right.
It was like going to the next thing.
It was like, okay, what are we going to do to get better? And it was never like, what's going on?
Let's be in this moment right now.
Or even just like, what happened? Like, what happened that like led you to, no one wanted to like discover anything of what happened. Cause it's like, but you're in treatment and you're in counseling and that's for your counselor, you know, like, oh, okay. And so whenever I would, and when I tell you, when I found this out, it was like, I was sitting in my chair, lost it. I was like on the floor, like crying. I called my friend and I'm like, oh my God, I just figured something out. And I'm so upset. But it was like, I mean, getting emotional, even just thinking about it, like this, like 6 years, I've been trying, like 6 years, it was of me, like just trying to prove that like, I'm okay. Right? Like do it in a healthy way, but like, look, I'm good. Look, I'm better. Look, like I came out of this and I'm alive and I'm doing so much better. And like, fuck, I am, you know what I mean? But like, sometimes like sometimes it was always like, I felt like I had to prove it to people, especially that witnessed me at that point in my life, that like, oh yeah, I'm great and I'm healthy. When in reality, all those years, like I was saying, it was a painful healing process. Like it took years still learning to like heal. Like I'm still learning pieces of myself that like this happened from this and I need to heal because I can't move forward and I can't be bigger and I can't be better. And that like took a lot of time and it freaking sucked. Obviously all the wins come from getting through that, but like at the moment and at the time, there wasn't a lot of people that were like, what happened to you? Like, what happened to you to lead you to this? I felt like I couldn't say anything. Like, I felt like I couldn't tell people. So, like, to my point, if I were to tell somebody, like, how do you, like, deal with someone that might be going through something? Or, like, how do you even, like, walk through somebody with that? Like, or, like, walk with somebody through that? Like, don't feel like you have to do anything. Like, just be there to like listen. Don't feel like you have to fix. Like, just be there to listen. Like, offer a suggestion to go seek counseling. Like you're not even like you're not registered to be a counselor.
Right.
Don't try to counsel.
Right.
You know, don't like just listen and just be there and like let them know that you're the person that you can go to always.
Yeah.
I will always be there for you. I will do whatever it freaking takes to help you. You know, I will do that. The song that I was talking about, it's called Call Your Mom. And it's talking about, it like hits me so hard because it's talking about like a suicide attempt. And there's a part in the song where it's like, if you could see yourself like this, you'd never tried it. You'd have never tried it. And it's like, if I could see myself the way that I saw myself seizing and turning blue and my people free, like I can like almost picture I would never have tried that. I would have never done that. And then it's like talking about like, I'll do this for you. Like, if this means that you don't go through this, if this means that you don't attempt it, I'll do this. I'll call your mom. Like, you know what I mean? I'll do whatever it takes. But you don't have to actively try to just be like, let me just fix it. But let me just carry things for you. Let me make you some food. Let me, do whatever. So, yeah.
I wonder why people don't, because I'm the kind of person that I'm going to ask. If I see you going through something like, bro, what's happening?
Yeah.
What do we need to do something? Because, I still feel like people have been taught not to talk about politics and religion so much that they avoid it. I think this is the same thing, like mental stuff. You like are taught like, hey, listen, this is sensitive. You don't want to say anything wrong because someone might be pissed off.
Yeah.
But me, listen, I don't care if you get mad at me.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask, bro, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Is there something I can do? Like exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. And we have a, Jamie, he coaches in communication. And he's always like, he's talking about his relationship sometimes. And he says that like his girlfriend will come in and like want to have a conversation. And he'll say, do you want me to just listen or do you want me to help? So I know how to, you know what I'm saying? And like,
how to respond well.
Just asking that question sometimes probably, I'll always remember him saying like, man, I think that applies here. Like, listen, is there something I can help with or do you want me to just listen?
Yeah. And that's so important. I've heard people do that, like, especially like couples or like if they're like going through something, they'll like, mention that. And I've said that to other people before too. And it's such that is such like an important thing. And to your point where it's like, people just don't talk about this stuff enough. Like, how are you, all these questions that you guys are asking, I think are so great because the thing is that like, you're asking questions because you like don't actually know. So how are you going to be able to be aware? When people ask questions like that, like I will now ask questions like, I don't like there's life's too short.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, I say it all the time.
Like a little counter and be like, ding.
Yeah, I'll like now ask questions because like, how else are you going to know? One, and two, like normally the other person doesn't care to answer them. It just like shows that you care. You're like curious. And I think that shit's important.
Even my barber, like this has nothing to do with suicide, but he was like, so I don't know how to ask this, but like, with your wife being white and like, I don't remember what the question was, but like he was very sensitive. I'm like, bro, ask the question. Like, it's not going to offend me. You know what I'm saying? So like, I get that.
Yeah. People, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it could be in that situation or in any situation, people are afraid to ask because maybe one time it's been met with somebody, like met with anger. And so then they're like, okay, well, this may be the case every single time.
Yeah.
So they've trained themselves like, okay, don't ask.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
I get that.
And and that's what's tough too, because I've run into people like that like They just like automatically get offended.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of person that I do not fuck with.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
you suck. Like someone's just trying to, like, how are they
Yeah.
supposed to like learn if you don't tell them?
Right.
You know, like
Like when we got married, I told her, I was like, listen, if there's something wrong, tell me right then. I'm not going to read your mind.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to communicate about that.
Well, it's like you mentioned earlier, you're like, let's deal with it now.
Yeah.
We're that way too,
Yeah.
where it's, I mean, unless it's like, I mean, we don't really have like a lot of heated conversations,
Yeah.
but I mean, like in an unhealthy way.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
But
But
she
if
says the white balance dumb or doesn't hit record. Or
Oh,
something
yeah,
like that, then we
that-
got to it. Yeah. But listen, really, that's the stuff we fight about.
Yeah.
You know?
That's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, what was I saying? I had a thought.
Oh, I messed up your thought. Not
no,
asking.
we were talking about why people don't ask because maybe it's been met with anger, and so they think.
Well, you
okay,
had just said something. Maybe it'll come to me. It was like a very tiny, minute thought that was like a spin-off of what your spin-off was.
Oh,
the spin-off of a
man.
spin-off of a spin-off.
I messed it up.
It's okay.
Hey, is your mic still on? Can you make sure is it still blue? You're sitting
I've
on
been
it.
sitting on it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it
we're
is.
still good. I was like, man, what if she turned it off?
Yeah, it's like, oh, oops.
Let me ask you something. So let's say someone's watching and they're like, what if my situation is so bad that it's impossible for me to see a positive outcome? What would you say to that person? Like right now, they're like, that's cool, but like the situation I'm in, like there's nothing good that's going to come out of this.
Yeah. Damn. Stunted.
And I think, let me just say this. I feel like you can use your, like, bro, whatever you're going through is not as bad as thinking that everything is so bad that you would be better off not alive.
Yeah. And I also think think about all of the times that you've thought that before and like you get through it. You know, like think about all the times that you've thought that in your life and like you got through it and you came out on the end and you probably came out better.
Yeah.
You know, because that is a tough one. Like, because when you're trying to get somebody out of the headspace of like literally everything fucking sucks and whatnot, like I think that's what I do too. It's like think about like where I was before and like how you got through that feeling. I do that a lot actually. Like how like I felt this feeling before or I felt something similar to it, but we did it, you know. We did it and I surrounded myself with people and I like made sure I had community around me and like we fucking did it and it sucked. But you have to like again, leading to this phenomenon, you have to fucking go through the fire a little bit or it's not going to be worth it or you're not going to be able to see like this big success out of it, you know? Like someone who like doesn't work, like someone who's like shit is just like handed to them, you know, where they don't have to like sweat or cry or bleed for it.
Take stuff for granted.
Yeah. You just take it for granted and it can be gone in a second, you know, like you respect the people that get to where they are. I don't like, if I see someone that's on top, right? I'm like, cool. If I see their journey that they got there, that like builds a completely different like view of respect, you know? So it's like, for shit like that, like you kind of have to work through it, right? And it's gonna be shitty and it's gonna suck, but like you've done hard shit before, you can do it again.
Yeah.
You know?
You answered that question.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
What if someone's asking, how do I know if I'm on the path towards something better or just stuck?
That's a good one. That's a good one too. I think it's the perspective of like, I think that person has to have the ability to like look at the bigger picture, right? Because it's funny, I compete in Olympic weightlifting and my coach is like, you need to look at the bigger picture. You can't be stuck in these small things, in these small competitions, in these small, tiny training sessions. Like you need to look at the bigger picture. You want to get here, like you need to work like you're getting here. So it's like if that person can just like broaden their horizon, what's your biggest goal?
Yeah.
Is that tiny thing gonna get you there? Oh yeah. then yeah, do it.
Yeah.
If that tiny thing is going to get in your way of getting you there, you're stuck.
And I think you're only stuck when you decide you're stuck. You're
Yeah.
probably the
Yeah,
only reason you're
that's good.
stuck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're always going to move forward until you're like, oh, I'm stuck now.
Yeah.
Get unstuck.
Yeah.
I heard a quote yesterday. I wrote it down. It was something like, if you don't quit, you win. And I'm like, that's so,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
simple, but I'm like, that's so big too. If you
Yeah.
don't quit, you win.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
It just like, it just sat with me well. I'm like, okay.
Right. And
Okay,
like,
person.
exactly. And that's good too. Like if you, like you're the one that decides that you're stuck. I have a little mantra board. It's stupid.
It's not stupid.
It's not stupid.
It's stupid. It's like, it sits on my desk. It sits on my desk. And last year my mantra was do better. So it was literally like, it's like the little letter boards, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
was like do better, period. And so like I'd look at it every day. I'm like, okay, Janyl, do better.
Yeah.
Like you got to do better.
Yeah.
This year it's the mountain is you. And it's like literally like, are you getting in your own way? Like,
That's dope.
are you getting in your own way? Like if you think, to your point, if you think that you're stuck, you're getting in your own way. Like that's you thinking that you're stuck. Ask anybody else. Do you think I'm stuck? And they're watching you grind away and like work your ass off? No. Like,
Bro, listen to me. You've got to write a book and call it The Mountain Is You. That is the
Yes.
dopest name of a book.
it's a song. It's a song.
Oh, man. I was like,
Oh, sorry.
I was like, that's a dope
I'm just like,
name.
I'm just
The
like, but
mountain
is there a book?
But I know,
But
but
is there a book?
there's not a book. But it's, the mountain, because it's like
That's
you're just
so
getting in your
good.
own way.
Yes, man.
To be fair, though, I'm like, maybe we will write a book.
You
and we're
should.
gonna
I'm
label
telling
it
like,
The Mountain
just
Is
this,
You.
like, we don't have any podcast that we talk this long for.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Seriously.
Sorry.
No,
Are we like going on
No,
forever?
I love this. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? What would you say to someone that's wondering, how can I shift my mindset when I feel completely overwhelmed?
Do you want like a deep version,
course,
or do you
whatever
want like a
version you want.
non-deep
Yeah.
version?
Well,
Whatever
listen,
The
version you
Janyl version, the Janyl version, when I'm in like my line of productivity and I'm like, we just got to get moving.
Yeah.
It's literally like, don't be a bitch. But that's not.
Sometimes when people
that on your letter board.
It's like, don't be a bitch. Repeat the question one more time so I can make sure I'm answering it efficiently.
Let's say someone's wondering, how can I shift my mindset when I feel completely overwhelmed?
Another quote that I almost put on my little quote board was, remember who the fuck you are. And it's just like, just remember you're overwhelmed, but like you fucking know yourself. And if you know yourself to fail, then like I can't help you.
Right.
You know, like if
Yeah.
you know yourself to be like, oh, well, I fail all the time and I'm overwhelmed, so I'm going to fail. I can't help you.
Yeah.
But it's like, remember who the fuck you are, and remember who the things that brought you here. Remember like all the shit that you went through to like bring you here. Like, remember you're just like a freaking badass. Like, and even if you don't think so at the moment, like people think that you're a badass.
Yeah.
Like you're good at your job. You're like, it sounds like my parents when they're like, oh, just pray it away. But like for those situations when I'm just like overwhelmed, it's like, remember who I am. And it brings me back to even like small traits of mine, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm overwhelmed. What the fuck do I need to do? Like the logical things, not like the mental like woo-saw things. It's like, I need to write a list. I need to make sure that I'm doing these things right. I need to
Right.
make sure I'm connecting with the right people. If I feel like my mental health is like kind of swaying, like I need to make sure I'm taking care of myself. I need to make sure I'm getting in the gym. It's like all of these things, like you can't just like being stuck, you know, like you're going to get overwhelmed
Right.
if you're going to stay stuck.
Right.
Like you have to keep on moving. You need to make sure like you're moving in the proper ways.
Right. And there's been situations where people will put us, like we have clients that they have really big, like the client we worked for together is nothing compared to the people we're working with now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they're doing dope things.
Yeah.
And sometimes they ask us to do stuff to where it's like, bro, why the hell do they think we can do this? And then we have to remind us, bro, because I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I can like, let's
Because
do
I
it.
can.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
fucking
Exactly.
can. And I will tell you if I don't want to fucking do it.
Right.
AKA, I don't think I can do it. You know? But it's
yeah,
like,
like-
I'll decide that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like, so I can't, I'm like, man, they know that I'm that guy. So, and I'm just saying I'm that guy for both of us. Cause
Yeah, but when you're like,
Yeah.
to me,
yeah. And so we're like, okay, like I'm not gonna trip about it. I can do it. Let's make this happen.
Yeah.
You know, what were you about to say?
Oh no, I was just gonna say to me, like your I don't want to call it ego. Your confidence is like way, way up here.
I feel
Yeah.
you got to. You got to.
Yeah, yeah.
You learn. I've done that before too. I've been like, yeah, I can do it, and I'm like, I don't know how to do it. But you learn and you did it, and now you got a new skill.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah.
Though. You know what I'm saying? It's like I think we did an episode before. We're talking about the whole fake it till you make
Yeah,
it thing.
that's what I was thinking
And
of.
it's like, I don't think when I think fake it till you make it, I think more of be in a position to where if something happens, you feel like you can handle it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not faking that I know how to do this,
Yeah.
but I'm in a position right now where I'll go learn and figure out how to do it. You know what I'm saying? And like, you'll never know that I didn't know. how to
Right,
do it.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And if I don't, I'm like, hey, listen, I don't know how to do this, but let me find something.
That was like Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah.
Where he's
Yeah.
like, I may not know how to do it, but I bet you what.
Yeah. Okay, so another question. Sorry to hit you with all these
Oh
questions.
no, you're good. I love it.
Do you want to ask this one?
Yeah. So what if somebody says or asks, is every hard situation really a setup for something better? Or is that just wishful thinking?
That's a good one. I think that hard situations, like they just culminate into the big situation that turns into whatever the win is. So it's like specifically for me, and I'll just bring the whole suicide attempt back in. There were so many hard situations that culminated into this big thing that like led to that big success. Like I think they all kind of like compiled together, because I think like a hard situation, if you don't handle it, it just compiles into the next
Kicking
hard
it down the road,
situation.
yeah.
Even if it doesn't have anything to do with, you know, even if A doesn't have anything to do with B, it all comes together and like turns into that big one. You just like, because if you don't handle it and you don't learn from it there, you're going to handle it in a different way, like down the line. Yeah.
You better go ahead. Let's go. So kind of like getting into wrapping stuff up.
Yeah.
I think that what I love about you is how you've learned just patience and how to trust the process of, like you were talking about, going through that recovery, trusting the process. And like, I feel like now if something happened to you, not like suicide wise, but like anything that you're faced with now, you're like, hey, listen, this is just part of it. And I know it's going to lead to something else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even back to the situation we were talking about before with how we first met.
Yeah.
That all at the time, and I've just always been this way. Like, hey, this sucks now, but I know it'll probably lead to something. I have
Yeah.
to look at it that way.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, this is so terrible. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
this is going to lead to something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
And you
I
may not
love-
even know or like think
Yeah.
about it in like our situation. You may not even think about it in the beginning or in the situation where we just admitted like we all kind of had feelings about each other. Like, oh,
Yeah.
well, you're
Yeah.
dropping the ball. So
But now
Yeah.
looking back, it's cool seeing like, hey, that was cool. So
Yeah.
it's helped me. I don't know about everyone else, but it's helped me to learn to, just like you, be patient and trust whatever's happening is happening for a reason.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure. For sure.
I didn't really ask a question. That was just a statement. And then the other notes I have in here is how unexpected connections or experiences shape your future. I think that's so dope.
I think so too. This goes into the whole concept of like the people that I call like lifesavers and stuff. Like, and the unexpected connections, how I got into my corporate relations space, like the stuff that I'm doing now. It was a gym client who was like a corporate partner for this other organization. And I just they invited me to a show and I just so happened to meet her. And and then like she asked my client, she told my client that she was hiring, and he was like, oh, well, you met Janyl. So like we went and had lunch, and then she was like, I have a job.
That's dope.
You know?
Yeah.
And then it completely like turned into this huge thing, and now
Yeah.
I'm at where I'm like, she taught me everything that I knew and like led me to be successful in the job that I'm in now. So it's like, you just never know who you're going to meet. You know, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's so true.
That concept is so crazy. Like even just us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I want
never
to hang
knew.
out more.
Yeah.
Just because, like, knowing your story now, not just because I know your story, but, like, you're just, every time we hang out with you outside of that situation, like, it's always been, we always leave, like, man, she's
Yeah.
really cool. We leave feeling really good.
Yeah.
So I hope you
Yeah.
know that. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks. I mean, you the whole work thing.
Yeah.
That was rough. That was rough. It's so funny that you say that because I literally did not like you.
Yeah. That
I did
sucks,
not,
bro.
well, but it's not even that I didn't like your work.
Yeah.
Like, because I thought, because I was told that it wasn't that
Yeah.
just shit,
Yeah.
you know? So it's funny. It's like, hey,
and
here we are.
Here's the crazy thing. And like, I love how we've been able to avoid the names, but like people that are around, we've talked to that like we feel like we can open up to are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm glad that we got out when we did,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but again, it led us to you and
Yeah. For sure.
I have no regrets.
Yeah. Same.
So I guess people listening or watching, you can give your 2 cents after too. You guys can too. It's just try to find the good in whatever's happening right now. I know that sucks. And it's like the whole like pray about it. I hate like when mom died and people would be like, oh, I'm praying for you. Bro, that don't help me.
Yeah.
And we're Christians. You know what
But
I'm saying?
also prove it.
We are. And like, but bro, like just saying you're praying for me, cool. That's not helping right now.
Yeah.
You know? But try to find the good out of what's happening. Because there has to be something that's good out of whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
I feel like, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, that's my 2.
Well, just to piggyback off that, somebody once said, and this was not in like a negative sense, but it stayed with me too. They said, when you're on top, when you're having a good day, great day, like just peak, whatever, pinnacle day, remember that there's more low days. And then when you're on your low days, remember that there's going to be more high days too. So, you know, just not to be like, oh, well, there's going to be a bad day, and like not in that kind of sense, but like you're going to be doing this.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess my 2 cents, I mean, it really is like, it truly is like really try to see the good, like try to look at life like as a bigger picture. It's like when you step super, super far away and like look at your life from afar, like that thing is like such a small thing compared to all the things that are to come, you know? And when I look at my life that way, I'm just like, okay, we can do it.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I would also say is that like through this whole entire process of me getting to here, it still wasn't easy. Like see all the good things, but it's still like you're still gonna have to work. I think that's what people miss is that like the people that are where they are now, where they are like at the top, they had to freaking work and they had bad days and they had great days, but like they still had to put their head down and work.
Yeah.
And like you'll reap the benefit of it, you know? So yeah.
Man, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Can we hug it out? Can we hug it out? Are we hugging it out? Hug it out?
Always.
Appreciate it so much.
Yeah, of
You're
course.
the best.
You're so great, you guys. Oh,
I know it's like, I'm like, can you come and do this thing?
I was like, duh, yeah. And I remember us like talking about it like a while ago. I was sitting on the mic.
You always, we need to get, so we decided not to do
I just didn't really.
we decided not to do the mics because I feel like that's a performance thing. When you have a mic in front of you, I feel like you have to perform versus
Yeah.
this is like a conversation, you know?
Like
And you
people tend to lean away
Yeah.
from mics too, because because the performance, you see a mic and they're like,
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, now your audio sucks.